good day, everybody, and welcome to Paul's Monday afternoon, 4 p.m., 30-minute webinar. The only variation we make to that is that we allow questions after the 30-minute mark, and then obviously you can stay as long as you would like to. So I'd like to firstly welcome my guest sitting in the Netherlands, Eksteen de Waal. Eksteen, good afternoon. Hi there, good to see you. Let me give you a quick introduction of Eksteen. The topic today is how to be an online pro on a budget. So this is not really for the folk that have these massive studios. It's for the folk that are maybe looking to upgrade from their webcam on their computer and using the sound on their computer to getting some other stuff that's going to help them without absolutely destroying the budget. So Eksteen is a relationship whisperer who helps teams go from under duress and move them to impress. In the last year, Eksteen has lost his house to a fire, faced coronavirus, and he's still helping others to become their better selves. He practices what he preaches, and today gives us tips on how to adjust in difficult times, especially doing great presentations online under severe technical restrictions. And you can hear that he's playing with some of his technical restrictions right now. So hello, Eksteen, welcome.
Hi, Paul. I'm glad to be here, thank you. And as you can see, my face is not as well lit as yours, because that's one of the things we're going to be talking about today. As you can see, things can also fade out of focus that we can also play with. So today we're going to play a little bit. And so I hope you guys enjoy today. And if you have any questions afterwards, I'm available afterwards to stay a bit longer. And even afterwards, after that, people have questions, they're more than welcome to send it over.
Fabulous. And we're just hearing a little bit of a muffle on your microphone, just so that you're aware of that. And folk, if I can just mention to you, as a result of that fire, Eksteen is not able to function from his chosen location, so he's using a standby location. And we're going to use this partially to illustrate to you how one can manage on the hoof when you need to, because it is entirely possible. So my first question flows right from that, and that is, what are the most important things to consider when presenting online?
I think it is something that mainly starts from broadcasting and from video and camera recordings and photography as well. The one thing that we add on top of photography when we do video is we also need to understand that the audio needs to be really good. So it's not just about light, about composition and things like that, but it's also about the audio. And then because it's online, connection is important. So I think if you were just talking about my sound being muffled, that is one of the most crucial elements. If people can hear you well, then they will forgive a lot. Right? And to be able to hear you well, they need good audio equipment, or at least some passable audio equipment, and you need to understand that your connection is important. So it is the audio, the lighting, then connection, then video. All right. So if you're wondering if you should buy a new camera, the quick answer is no. Do the other three things first.
And then the camera last.
Camera's last, least important.
Okay, and what I also find, and I think you'll probably agree with this, that one of the key elements of getting yourself ready to, let's say, broadcast to an audience, run a webinar, do a video conference, is just to give yourself enough time to set up. This has been one of my major bugbears with not wanting to have a last-minute situation. Make sure that you're relaxed, you're in a good mood, you're in the right frame of mind, and that you're ready to engage in your audience, not worrying about all that tech stuff.
Absolutely, totally agree. I mean, today, however, what I did for myself is I put myself under a tremendous amount of strain, because normally I have a complete studio set up. I'm actually revamping my house. I'm rebuilding the whole studio. So I'm putting a brand new everything in. And so today was my push. Today was to see, well, what can I not do that I normally would like to? And how can I push myself to use every single last little thing that I can at a neighbor's house who has a bad internet connection and everything else, just to see what I can manage, all right? So today I'm a bit flustered, more so than normal, so just in case, you know.
But you see, this is a key point as well. You can be under pressure But I think we need to understand that just like great actors on Broadway or wherever they're acting, if you're giving 8 performances a week, including your Wednesday and your Saturday matinees, you're going to be under pressure on some of those performances. You're going to get caught in roadblocks and be in traffic jams and all sorts of things. You still need to perform on the day, regardless of the pressure you've put yourself under or you've been under through no fault of your own.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. One of the things that got me through in the last year is when I'm really under pressure and really under stress, is I've got a little 2-minute meditation I normally teach my clients. And that 2-minute meditation has saved me multiple times by just taking 2 minutes out and then bringing myself back to the center. And it's sort of a little scientific meditation. If people are interested in it, just let me know, and I'll send them a link on how to do that. But it's a nice little trick. All my banker clients use that a lot just before they go into a stressful meeting, just to get themselves in the moment.
So now, what about, let's just move on to content, because you're saying really that content comes last, but actually the people have tuned in because of the content that you promised.
I think for me, content, if you cannot hear me, what use is the content to you? All right? If the connection is constantly dropping, I'm going to get more frustrated, I'm going to leave.
Yes.
If I can't see what's going on and I was promised a video and there's not enough light, I'm going to leave.
Yes.
Right? So what use is your content if nobody's there to listen to it?
Sure.
So the video, that's what I'm saying, the video is last. How good I look on a video is not important to my audience. The content needs to be transmitted, and video is the least of my worries. All right. So yes, I'm not going to talk about your content, but your content needs to shine when you present, and the only way to do that is audio, lighting, connection, and then video as last as to polish it off.
But then surely if your video, if there's something wrong with your video, for instance, your camera's too low and we're getting nostril view and what have you, that can surely be very irritating and annoying for your audience.
Yes, I agree, but that still means that they have to be able to see your nostrils to get irritated by it.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So nostrils are more of an issue with mic placement, that if you place your mic too close to your nose or too close to your mouth, people will hear you breathing, and then it sounds like you've been running up the stairs, you know? And especially if you're a little bit chubby like me, the way that your body reacts to air intake can sound a little bit wheezy, so you have to be careful with mic placement. So shall we get right onto that, if you don't mind? Let's just get cracking on mic.
Yeah, and I think what you're saying is that the microphone is really the most important thing.
Yes, and people tend to underestimate how important the mic is.
Okay.
All right. So what I'm wearing at the moment is a little bit expensive, but it is really nice and nifty and small. It's called a Rode Wireless Go. Now this is a microphone that I can wear without anything plugged into it. So let me just show you what happens. It has a little mic in the top, all right? And if I just clip it on like this, it basically functions as a microphone, but it's omnidirectional, so it'll pick up on anything and everything.
Yeah.
Right. So you might also hear a slight sort of whooshing sound on it coming from the fan that's next to me. The thing that you have been listening to up to now was I plugged in a little microphone into it, and the microphone I plugged into it is actually one of these. All right. So it is a little lapel mic. Let me just put my hands in front of my face so the camera can switch. There we see. Yep. So I just plug those two little things in there. Now, if you cannot afford anything else, get yourself one of these little mics. Just put it on a long cable and you can plug it straight into your computer. All right? Or into your laptop, whatever else. So let me put that on here for a second. So to show you a slightly different audio, so this little lapel mics, they go from rather good quality to amazing quality to really bad. Okay, The really bad ones have all got a crackling on the side, on the thing, and whenever you touch anything, things go wrong and so on. So there's a little trick for these things, all right? What you do is you put a little knot in the cable between the microphone and where it's eventually going to connect to. That knot you put relatively close to the microphone, so relatively close here to the microphone, and you put tape over it. So you tape it to yourself, because anything beyond the knot that scrapes against clothing will not cause noise anymore. Okay? So cable, knot, tape it to something, and then whenever something rubs across here, you will not get that noise you're hearing at the moment. Okay?
Wow, that's a neat little tip.
So I'm going to get rid of this for a second. So give me a second. I'm just going to switch over to a different mic altogether. Combination. And the belt pack combination allows you to just, as you can see, the little ones, this one is still on, it shows you there. And this allows you to go a distance. So I can literally plug in the one on myself and the other one on my camera, and then stand away from it. So if you have a few bob extra, they're about $250, okay? Then you can get one of these. Right.
So that's about 4,000 Rand.
Yes, thereabouts.
Okay.
So you need a few bob for that. But that's one of the cheapest ways of getting remote sound. Another one is you just get a cable like this, right? Long extension cable.
Yeah.
And one of these lapel mics. Remember the knot and the tape. If you don't know how to do that, there's hundreds of YouTube videos showing you how to do that. Look for the videos that they use for filmmaking, not for the stuff that YouTubers use, okay?
Okay, and what was interesting there was that as you held that up, your camera focused into what you were holding up towards the camera. So you're going to talk to us a bit about that as well.
Yes, I'll tell you about that in a second. What I want to tell you is now, over here is the microphone that I've got up here. Is a microphone that is a Rode, they call it a shotgun mic. You will also you should not be hearing the fan anymore on that. The sound should be a lot clearer. The reason for that being is it's a directional mic, so it only focuses straight ahead and doesn't do anything with sound behind it or to the side of it. So you normally have a cone of about 90 to 120 degrees. Everything beyond that, it cuts out. You also get the slightly more expensive ones. You can push a little button on it and it'll cut out all kinds of background noise other than the human voice frequencies.
Yes.
The other day I was presenting with a customer, and there was drilling going on outside. There was a contractor working next door, and I went like, what am I going to do? So I just put on the directional mic, and it helped me to cut out that background noise. So the cheapest option is start with a lapel mic, then go up to get something remote, and then spend the money if you can on getting a directional shotgun mic. And you can buy one second hand. If somebody's taken very good care of their mic, buy it second hand. In this corona times, there are a lot of people going bankrupt and studios that are filing for bankruptcy. You'll see there's a lot of mics on the market at the moment, or a lot more going on the market. I was actually looking at buying a Sennheiser MH416, which is very expensive. The normal price is about $1,200 to $1,500. But I was looking to buy it second hand, and I could get it second hand for about $400. So it is a third of the normal retail price. If you're looking at those kind of prices, buy it immediately, because generally they sell for about 30 to 40% cheaper if they're second hand. And this one was 20 years old, and people could still get that kind of money for it.
Wow.
Right. So a good mic holds its value rather well.
Okay, and then I just wanted to mention as well that there's an interesting feature on the latest Zoom 5.2, and that is that there's now a noise reduction feature. So if you download the latest update of Zoom, you get that, and it works remarkably well. I've got it on at the moment, and I'm just going to test quickly and see if you can hear me clicking my fingers. Can you hear it?
No.
Okay, so there we go. So that works pretty well also, and that's quite nice for people that have got a home studio type setup or are just doing it from their offices.
Then the next thing I was just say, one more last thing about microphones, and then we can talk about something else around sound. Madonna mics, you guys know them?
Yep.
or let's put it this way, that's what my husband calls the Madonna mic, so that I've just stuck with the term. I think everybody knows what that means then. This little one here, it's very, very small, as you can see. This is specifically from DPA. It's a 6066. It's probably one of the most expensive mics for this you can get. You see this little sweat thingy there on the tip as well, the little white bit to help you to stop sweat from dripping off the end of it. And it has a normal microphone jack on the side. You can pick whatever you want. They're about between $700 and $900, so they're really expensive. But there's nothing better. This is a sound technician's dream because it's clear audio, and it doesn't do anything to the audio, so you can play with the audio afterwards. So if you guys want to know more about audio and playing with audio and things like noise gate, big boom, all that kind of stuff, or big bass, let me know. I'll give you guys some tips on that. I use a Roadcaster Pro sound deck, so it's the Roadcaster Pro, because I can set all my software from that. Now, I don't have that currently connected, so you guys hear original sound. I've cut out all the noise filters and everything that Zoom will throw in there to treat the audio. This is just straight from the mic, straight into the computer.
Right.
Right.
So there is a question I just want to quickly throw at you from the chat box. Louise is asking, how did you get your logo up at the top of your screen?
That's a bit of software called SparkoCam. Remind me when you talk about video, I'll bring that in, okay?
So SparkoCam is for Microsoft users and eCam would be for Apple users.
Yeah, I think except eCam is a subscription and SparkoCam is $29 once off.
Right.
So it's a cheap solution. So the other thing with audio, you will still hear that my sound echoes a little bit. Now, one of the things you need to understand is that audio will basically, in a straight line, reflect off anything. So wherever my mic is and wherever I am, okay, where my mic is going to be, that is where I want my audio to travel to from my mouth. So from my mouth to my mic. My audio from my mouth, however, is going to go everywhere in the room, and it's going to come back as an echo. So then I hear this weird echoing sound in the background, okay? The way to do that is we've got sound insulation, sound absorption, and sound refraction. Sound insulation means we need weight. So we make the walls thicker, we make them heavier, we put up heavy drapes. That's to keep sound out, or take our sound that we generate to stop that from going outside the house. So weight is going to do that because the energy needs to transfer into something else, and the heavier it is, the more it will contain it. Okay, that's so sound insulation. Sound absorption has to do with what is the surface of something and the weight behind it. So to make sound absorbers, you know these blankets that we get in South Africa that you buy at pep stores? You know, those really thick blankets? Those are the ones you want. They're really great at sound absorbing. All right? And then we get sound refraction. So if I put too much absorption in my house or my room, it sounds dull. And that's where I need to refract or break it up a little bit. Now, what works really well as a way to refract your noise and sound, to stop sound, is a bookcase. Just a bookcase full of books, because it's all uneven surfaces, so it's going to refract the sound. So you put a bookcase behind you, a bookcase in front of you with books in it, and there you've got half your sound treatment done. Then you put a blanket on the ceiling and 2 blankets on either side of you, and you're A and away. So there's no need that this should cost you a lot of money. Right. And if you can't afford a book, if you don't have a bookcase, anything that's going to give you that kind of surface, loads of little wood blocks or wood chips that you can get from a local woodworker or something like that, just buy it and stick it on a old door or something like that, will also create that kind of surface for you. All right, so that is audio. So now let's step off to audio, because we have a few other things to tackle as well. When we look at light, the one thing that I get annoyed with, but I mean, it's become a YouTube sort of thing, is a circular light. The thing is with the circular light is it takes away any characteristics of your face. I'm not 20 anymore. If I want to look like 20, I can add some Botox, I can add some lighting effects, and I can add a circular light. Great. It's like the facial feature effects that make you look smoother on Zoom as well. It's not you. So I prefer, my preferred way of working is I prefer just to work with light. So some of the stuff that I've bought is little light stack like this. Now, what I've done is, this one runs off just a USB port, so I basically run it off my tablet's little USB cable. And what I did is I just put a little bit of tape here on the side, I folded the tape in half so I can direct it a little bit. All right, so try and play with direction by just doing that. I'm going to switch it on, and the camera is going to have a little bit of a problem with it. As you can see, it's quite bright. And this one specifically, I can set the brightness. All right, so it'll make it a little bit easier on the eyes as they go down. All right. What I want is, I want a light source that comes from the one side and is relatively bright. So what you can see there is, as I'm playing across my face, I can get more or less shadow on my face. So if I look at the camera and I bring it to the side, you will see that it is basically half my face is in shadow and half of it's in light. Now what we try and do is bring it a little bit to the front and then move it further and further away till you don't have such bright light on your face. You see, guys, see here on my face, it's completely washed out on the side of the light. Sort of like I lose all the detail. And that's some of the tricks you can use with the circular lights, for instance, if you want to take away all the little wrinkles, okay? But this is too bright because the light is too harsh. So what I can do is I can reduce the light, but as I reduce the light, all it means is it just becomes less, but it doesn't become softer. Now, softer means I hide it behind something to spread out the light a little bit more. The bigger the softbox, the softer the light, the more it'll wrap naturally around the face, and the more it'll look like sunlight. And anything that looks close to sunlight is normal for us to see, and it's easier for us to work with color grading. So if you're ever recording something, Kelvin, 5600 Kelvin is round about where you should be, or 5700 Kelvin, because that allows you to have a light that is natural looking. Anything less than it is warmer, so it goes towards yellow, orangey. Anything more than that goes towards blue and makes you look a little bit pale. Right. So if you don't have much of a tan, reduce the Kelvins and you look like you have one. So for us Northern Europeans, that's the tricks we get away with. For South Africans, you can add as much light as you like because you guys all have a lovely tan. We don't.
Right. So if you're going to be on TV, then obviously you want to make sure that you have your lighting correct and that it looks absolutely spot on, I would imagine.
Yes, yes. It is, that's one way of looking at it, yes.
I want to ask you quickly about...
said when I'm on stage, I do something different.
There we go.
Yeah.
I want to just ask you about your internet speed. What kind of speeds do you need in order to feel that you're safe, especially if you're doing a meeting call where you've got a lot of people's videos coming up?
Okay, now, the first thing I want to say, you just need to think of is, how do you ensure that people can see you?
Yeah.
If they've come for your content, they need to see you first. To be able to do that, your upload speed is most important, not your download speed. So there's a website you can go to called speedtest.net. Speedtest.net. It's from a company called Ookla. They run it all around the world. And that will connect to your closest local server where you can download something from. Run that, okay? Because 5 megabits up is about the right amount that you need to be able to broadcast. Now, Zoom doesn't require that much. It's only 720. The resolution is over in 720. High definition will be 1080. If you guys don't know what that means, it's the vertical resolution of the screen. So 720, you'll see it on TVs as well. 720 is what most people had as sort of the initial HD. You've got Ultra HD, which is the 1080p or I, and then you get the ones that go up to 4K and 8K, 6K and 8K. Those are the latest technology. just takes so much bandwidth that it's not worth it really for you to worry about that. That's one of the reasons why cameras is not that important, because Zoom is only going to broadcast 720. Unless you've got a very expensive corporate subscription and you've switched on all the HD functions, and even then it will only go to 1080. So buying a 4K camera for broadcasting either via Zoom or Teams or anything like that, waste of money. Okay, so the lighting, as I said, was important. 3-point lighting systems, look at those, really interesting to look at. Then the connection, the download speed, anything from 20 or up should be okay if you're going to have, let's say, about 15 to 20 participants. The moment you go beyond that, it becomes really difficult to have enough download speed. Okay. And the more people you'll have in view, the more processing will have to take place with that signal. So I would suggest focus on your upload speed. Make sure your upload speed is okay. And remember, upload is megabits per second, not megabytes per second. So it is rather slow.
So if I can ask you, any other non-technical tips for presenting that you might have?
Well, I don't know if this technical or not, but look at your background. What I've done here is I've used my Canon camera, which has autofocus in it. It's one of the cheapest on the market. It's the M50. It's not a fantastic camera. It came out a year and a half ago. It is also not the latest technology. But I put a lens on there that's got an f-stop of about 2, which means it allows me to use this focus distancing thing. So I can have my hand over here, it focuses on that. I can take it away, it'll focus on my face. But my background over here, as you can see, is out of focus. Okay? Yeah. So that sounds technical, but what I want to show you is over here on this side, you see the books here in the background and the little light there? It's just putting some interest in the background, but not letting it overpower. Okay? And make it as simple as possible. Light in the background, especially if I switch to that on, it'll show you a little bit of interest, it shows warmth, it shows a homeliness to it. And if you're presenting from home, it's always interesting just to do that. And as you can see here, the amount of stuff that I've put there on the little bookshelf is very limited.
Great. I've got 2 questions in the chat box. The one was, does one need weight and refraction? And then the other one was, do you use a softbox?
I have about 5 soft boxes, and I have lots of stuff normally that I use in my studio and different lights, also some really expensive lights, but I don't have that. I'm not using that today. But I use a softbox, the biggest one I can get. All right. And just remember this, a soft box has to do with the housing that the light is in. It doesn't mean the light itself. So you get lights that are light bulbs that are in a fitting, and within that fitting then fits inside a softbox. Those are usually the cheaper lights because it's a light bulb and it lasts for a certain amount of time and it's done. If you want to get an LED light or what they call a COB, chip on board, those are relatively expensive. They will last you a very long time. But those can also be adjusted percentage-wise, just like these little ones I've got over here that I can adjust by percentage. All right. If you have a good quality light, you can usually adjust it by percentage, and that means you can adjust it for any lighting conditions.
Okay, and for those of us that don't know, just explain exactly what a softbox is.
Okay, so you know that kitchen paper that your grandmother used to use to bake cookies on? All right? It's sort of like a semi-translucent paper. All right? It's something like that, but it's usually synthetic. Now, if you give me 2 seconds, I think I have one lying around. Yes, it's over there. I'll show you.
I'll just mention something. There was a comment about me needing a good mic for my guitar playing. When I'm recording something to broadcast, I normally use automatically here that my mic is a lot different now. Because when I use my...
Why don't I hear you now? What happened?
Are you hearing me?
All of a sudden you went soft on my side, but I think maybe I did something wrong.
Okay, so I went soft on the side because that is the setting that I use when I'm playing the guitar, because then it doesn't muffle the strings. So I'm just giving you a demonstration that you need to be careful that you don't get caught, well, figuratively, with your pants down.
So just on the lighting and the softbox side, if you do not have any lights, and South Africa, you don't have to worry about clouds that much. So your lighting conditions are going to stay the same for a little bit longer. So if you've got an hour presentation, you can use sunlight. If you know there's not clouds going to be in front of the sun, it's going to be fine because your light's not going to change much. But what you need is something to fill in the side of your face. So if you have a harsh light on the one side, and you've got something else to fill it in on that side. So if I've got a harsh light on this side, I need something on this side to reflect the light. Like, see, if I just put my hand there already, it makes a difference. Yeah. Okay, if I take my hand away, or if I put my hand there. Okay, so you can use a reflector. Now, this is a reflector normally used in photography. This is a bit of a bigger one. So it has a silver side. It has a black side, which will act as a light absorber. And this specific one has a different side to it as well. So it has a golden bit and a white bit and a see-through bit in the middle. And that see-through bit in the middle, that's in essence what we're talking about. That will make it into a softbox. So if you have light even from outside streaming in and you want to make it softer, just get something like this. These things are relatively cheap. Again, you can buy them second-hand. And if you don't have money, it's fine. If you can afford an A3 page of paper, just position it on a box and stack that on another box, and that'll be your filler. Okay? Don't worry too much about money. Fillers, you can very easily create. Just a white piece of paper will do. Get a white box from Pick and Pay or something where they throw the boxes away. It'll also work. Unfold it, cut it open, and you've got a big white surface that you can use.
Can right. You just stick it on with sellotape or press stick?
Anything you like, yeah. So if you have one side which is mainly sunlight coming in, like I've got on this side over here, then I can position myself so that the light is more from the side and then it looks more natural, okay? And from this side I've got a little bit of light coming in. So you can see the background as well just works with a little bit of sunlight coming from there, and all I've got in front of that is I've got a curtain hanging in front of it, breaking out most of the light for today.
And Gail has put in a comment about using tinfoil for photography for reflection.
I would just say be careful with the silver ones like this. The light that it reflects is really harsh. Yeah. So I would always suggest rather use a piece of paper because it reflects the light in a more soft manner, okay, and slightly more diffused. So softbox, also known as a diffuser. So it's literally shining a light through something. Yeah. So you can shine it through a net curtain, you can shine it through a bit of kitchen paper, you can shine it through an A4 page, or you get yourself some cellophane that is milky white and you shine it through that. Don't have to spend too much money to get those kind of things done. If you have a really harsh light, you can even throw it through a sheet, through a white sheet.
Great. So Eksteen, if you could give us just a final summary of the order of importance, what one should look out for, and just making sure that you're mentally ready and under as little pressure as possible when you're going to be going live.
I would suggest start with framing your shot. So where am I going to sit and what's going to be in the background and what are people going to see? All right. Okay. Then look at how is that placed towards the light. If it's not good enough for the light, see if you can create a place that is just within the frame that has the right lighting conditions. If you cannot get the light right, okay, add some extra light. If you have a bit of cash, or you can play a little bit more with lighting, cut out all external light so you can maintain the same lighting source the whole time. So framing light. Then make sure that your audio is clear and test your audio beforehand, because the moment you step in to Zoom or anything else, you cannot test things with people, ask them things like I did with you, Paul, before we started, if your microphone is not working. If my microphone is working, I can say, Paul, by the way, can you hear me? You can go like this. I can see that, all right? You can tell me what I'm doing wrong, what you're not hearing, and so on, and I can adjust on my side. And I think the one thing that really works well is if you have someone you love or trust, it's not always the same person when it comes to a setup, somebody you know, if you scream at them, they're not going to get angry at you. Have them help you set up. Because when we're under pressure, we tend to have a tone of voice that's not that nice, and those people need to be a little bit resilient where that's concerned. Paul has some videos, very good. I'm going to be creating a series to help with these little more technical stuff. And then if you want to watch there's a few things. The DSLR video shooter is one YouTube channel that I like. DSLR video shooter, and because the guy talks about a lot about this kind of stuff. The other one is called Potato Jet. So literally like a jet flying, okay? Potato, first name. And then the other one is Booth Junkie. And so the guy that does Booth Junkie, he does a lot of audio and voiceover. So he talks about the richness of sound as well. And how do you make a female sound voice richer? And how do you make a male really bass sound a little bit lighter and things like that. So he talks about the difference between microphones and treating it afterwards. I think that's also a very interesting channel to listen to.